And back on board, Shane's Rib Shack for a Thursday. Football in Focus set to go again. Good show lined up tonight. Going to get Lindley Ivey, our guest, in for our first segment this evening, talking about football. He's our guest referee. And all this officiating work going on lately, we thought we'd get him in for some expert advice and expert information. What about this situation in Texas? Those two kids that got put up on the situation there, and the coach down, I understand the assistant coach has resigned, and the two kids are trying to figure out now exactly what to do with their ongoing punishment for them. It hit that referee. I don't know, we hadn't seen that happen very often before. People are still seeing it for the first time, and everybody that sees it still can't believe it.
Well, it's shame on the coach, one, for instructing his kids to do that, and then shame on the two kids for taking the coach's advice of doing it. I mean, I've been hit. I've had my knee scoped twice because of being hit, but both times I was in the wrong place at the wrong time because I'm an umpire, and that we get smacked around a little bit. But I have never, ever seen an official get hit purposely. I do officiate arena football, and sometimes...
That's a hectic deal there.
Yes, it is. But sometimes umpires are used as a screen, but that is a penalty.
Yeah.
So,
yeah.
But that's a shameful, and it seems like... the gas has been poured on the fire because now we're seeing other instances where this is happening.
Yeah, in the past, and you look at the two kids involved, one of the kids has shown remorse, said he's sorry. The other kid said he was just doing what his coach told him. He didn't seem to show as much remorse to me.
Well, if that was my son, I would be finding the nearest tree and spanking him hard. He would never play sports again.
I think one of the kids is a senior, one of the kids is underclassmen. I guess the senior probably won't play again there, but I'm just wondering about the underclassmen. And as far as the coach goes, he resigned, so he's not going to be there. He should never coach again anywhere.
Amen. And the underclassmen, I would have difficulty allowing him to play, maybe for a year, until he does show some remorse.
So you don't usually run into situations where you have a lot of problems with the players or the coaches while you're on the field during the games. You don't face much of that at all.
There are some schools, high schools, that have discipline problems, but it all stems from the coach. We're very fortunate in this area, Gillespie, Davis, at Dudley. I could go on where, they will tell you, if you have a problem with one of my kids and it's not severe enough, let me know. I will handle it. If it's severe enough, you handle it on the field, and then I will handle it again when they get to the sidelines.
And you probably, like you say, you probably haven't seen anything probably close to this as all over the years. Do you ever get in a situation maybe late in the game where you have to kind of step in, kind of keep the teams apart, kind of separate the teams? It gets kind of a real tight ball game, a lot of emotions flying around maybe at the end. Those guys want to get a little too close together, the players, maybe even the coaches?
Oh, absolutely. A lot of times in blowouts. And a lot of times in rivalries you have that to happen. But you should start off when you go into a game and you know that that's the history of that school or that it is a rivalry, you try to start officiate. You do officiate that game at the beginning of the game as you would in the end. Try to hold on all throughout the whole game that way.
How much work do you do getting ready for a season when you get ready to go out in the field because the official was hit hard? There's no way, any physical way he could have been ready for something like that because he got hit from the blind side, coming out on the back side, completely unknowing what was coming at him. But how much training and work do you do to get ready? Because you look like you stay in pretty good shape. How much work do you do to get ready for a season?
Well, luckily this year I've lost about 35 pounds since January. So I have realized that the camera doesn't do me too good of a favor with my belly hanging over my belt. But I do try to work out, as most officials do, and if not, they should. Officials age every year. The players stay the same age.
Yeah.
And there is no way that I'm going to keep up with an 18-year-old going down the field that's breaking from the center of the field going down the sidelines. Thank goodness we have 5 officials in high school, and on Saturdays we have 7.
And Saturdays, you do some college ball too?
Yes,
then?
sir.
Who do you work for college level? Is it certain area teams? Do you go with a conference? How you assign?
Presently, I'm in ODAC.
Oh, man, that's nice.
Yes,
nice.
sir.
Used to get some of our local kids in.
Sure do, yes,
That's
sir.
going to be a lot of fun. Have you had any Gopher games, anything like that?
Not this year as of yet. And don't know if I should comment about whether I will or not. But
yeah.
I'm lucky that I will be nearby a couple Saturdays, yes.
Yeah, well, that's good. I mean, you got teams like Guilford, Washington and Lee, you got Hampton, Sydney, you've got
What a
Emory,
great
Henry,
rivalry,
a lot of
too.
good stuff there, yeah.
Oh, Washington Lee and Hampton Sydney, what a great rivalry.
A lot of good history there,
Oh,
right?
yes, absolutely. Absolutely, yes, sir.
I hope you get a chance to at least call maybe one game this year with Matt Pulaski over at Guilford and the kids, the local kids involved there.
Your wish possibly could come true.
Well, I tell you, the game, if you could call a game to label that, if you could call that Guilford Hampton Sydney game, that would be a huge one. Don't know what's down the road there, but that's such an important game for Guilford. That's the
Right.
game they can never seem to get over that hump.
Yeah,
Oh, it is.
and Guilford has improved so much. I can remember back in the years, I officiated ODAC for quite some time and then had to stop because I went to work for the PGA Tour with their communications, and just now starting back. But I've had that when Guilford was not as good as they are. I don't know how else diplomatically to say it, but they are.
It used to be a situation
superior.
where on a Saturday afternoon to watch a Guilford game, you pretty much knew going in what you were in for as a spectator. There wasn't much, if they won the game that day, you were going to be fortunate to get a win. You're lucky you've maybe got 2 wins in a year.
Oh, yes, absolutely. And Division III, there are some Division III schools that I have seen where there's, you take a Mallard Creek that could probably stay with them.
Sure.
On that level.
And doing the Division III level, the ODAC, and high school-wise, I guess you got Dudley lined up. That'll be your next assignment there coming up this week sometime? Or is it down the road somewhere?
Yes, I'm doing the Dudley Richmond game tomorrow night.
That'll get you busy too, I'm sure.
That 2 state top-ranked teams and the history of both. I don't know if they've played each other before, but I have had both schools before. They are powerhouses in the state of North Carolina. I do not know the new coach at Richmond, but I cannot say enough good about the coaching ability and the disciplinary actions that Coach Davis has at Dudley. I cannot say enough about that man. He is outstanding.
Keeps a good firm grip, a good firm handle on those kids.
Absolutely, he does.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
And it's probably for the best, too, because those kids seem to be pretty well respectful when you're in those kids. They seem to keep their game in order, and they know what to expect, and probably, to go hard on the side of discipline on his part. If he errs on that side, that's not a bad mistake to make on Coach Davis's part. Be a little tougher than you need to be. Nothing wrong with that, because it could work out better in the end.
Well, I can remember years ago Dudley just being rambunctious. Coach Davis, he will tell you, and I don't know that I've ever seen Coach Davis without that toothpick in his mouth.
Yeah.
But he will tell you in pregame, if you have any problems with my kids, you let me know, I will handle it. And I don't know that since he's been there that I've ever had a problem with any of his kids.
So you don't mind going there at all? You look forward to going
Oh,
over there?
absolutely. The smell of fish and food from
Yeah.
the end zones is
It's
fantastic.
a nice atmosphere over there, very good
Yes.
atmosphere. You get Skip McCall on the PA system calling out the names, all the stuff goes on with it. It's always a lot of fun, too.
What a great voice he has. He reminds me of the guy from Soul Train, Don.
Don Cornelius.
Yes, that's
sir,
who he
sure
reminds me of. I love his voice.
Yeah, he
Look
does a
forward to
very
hearing him
good
tomorrow
job.
night.
Have you didn't happen to do the Dudley Hillside game, did you? That was a fast-paced game.
No, sir. I did not do that game. Was that here in Greensboro?
Yeah, it was over
Okay.
Dudley a couple weeks back.
I'd had the Dudley-Davie County game.
Mm-hmm.
I believe that was the second game of the season. And Dudley manhandled them.
Yeah, which I think they've done quite a bit of that so far, almost every game this year. I
Yes,
think
sir.
Hillside's the team that probably challenged them the most, and Dudley still won that game by probably 3 touchdowns at least.
Yeah, and Hillside's coach is one of the Shrine Bowl coaches this year. He is
Coach
a
King?
great, yes, sir, great individual. Great individual.
How much work and what's your involvement with the Shrine Bowl? Because you've been involved with the Shrine Bowl several years. How much involved, and what's your position with those guys?
I've been the vice game day chairman since 1999, and I am the vice president of the Board of Governors. So I have, my involvement is 12 months a year, and we're coming up about 90 days away from the ball game.
Getting
So
close, getting
yes,
close.
we are getting very close.
Now, are you involved just what's going on the North Carolina side, or also involved in the South Carolina side as well?
No, I try to take myself out of one state or the other. And especially the same as with the officials. I have nothing to do with officials. Every year when the officials are picked, Bruce Huyen down in South Carolina and Mark Drovelis will drive the buses, I
Seen
call
his
him.
name, yeah.
He, both are supervisor officials for each representative state. They are the guys who put it upon the booking agents in certain areas to pick those officials. So I take my name out of that because I don't want to pull one of my buddies in. But my responsibilities are primarily game day and a lot of activities that lead up to what happens during game day. Players' meals, the radio network, publicity, marketing, the list goes on. Security, which that is more and more because of what has happened a few years ago up New York. That's become an emphasis with not only the NFL but college also. So these kids, the majority of them are going Division I. Sadly, a lot of them are going out of state. So those coaches from those schools want to make sure those kids continue to behave themselves and see them in December or January or whenever they get out of school.
Now, you're also involved, I guess, locally here, too, because you've got a son that plays for Page, I guess, on the JV team right now.
Yes, sir. He's the starting center. Yes, sir.
Wow, that's pretty interesting. Big center then for you.
He is 6'1", 250.
Wow.
Wears a 15 shoe. When he was born, my wife and I told my wife that I could not wait for the time that we could wear the same shoes. I wear 10 and a half, and I think he wore 10 and a half for about 45 minutes. He very smart. He's in the IB program there, so very, very, very proud of my son.
What year is he?
10th grader.
10th grader.
Yes,
so he'll
sir.
move up to varsity next year.
Yes, sir. Should.
And the varsity guy, I remember that varsity center too, the Makovic kid, I think, was starting at one time.
Ken Makovic's son.
Yeah, Nick Makovic, yeah.
Yes.
And I guess
Awesome individual.
I guess he's a senior?
No, sir. He's a sophomore.
Wow, same grade.
Oh,
Interesting.
yes, sir.
I guess one of those guys could also play guard.
And he's stud.
Yeah.
Mr. Makovic is a stud. He is, absolutely. And his father's an awesome individual, so, yeah.
Like I said, when your son gets to varsity, that's probably a nice luxury to have. Move one of those guys, they both don't have to play center. One can actually play guard and maybe tackle too. You never know.
Wherever Coach Gillespie puts him.
Absolutely. Just want an open spot, want a chance.
Yes, sir. Yes, sir.
How long have you been around football yourself? A lot of years?
Yes, sir. I believe this is my 25th year officiating. I coached when I got out of college. And
where'd you go to college?
NC State.
Wow, good
Wolfpack,
stuff,
baby.
Yeah. There it is, yes.
I was coaching and said some words of the nature that my mother would not want me to say to the referee, and I got thrown out of the ball game. So I went in the next day to see a buddy of mine, and he told me, he said, Lindley, you need to be a referee. And it's probably the best thing I've ever done. I have been around the United States, officiating arena, college. In 2001, I was lucky enough, because of my involvement with arena, that I got to officiate NFL the first time the officials went on strike. And that was a blast. That was a blast.
Ever into Coach Resnala, who used to be down at Grimsley, Coach Res, who used to be he ran the arena team, I think, in Fayetteville a couple years back. I don't know if you ran him or not. He was pretty big into it at one time.
I believe I know that name, Gunny. Coach Gunnings, I believe, is the coach down there now.
Okay, yeah. I know they changed coaches quite a bit.
Oh, yes.
Yeah,
They do.
Now, you were a football player yourself back in the day, too, I guess, then.
But I stunk. I played at Northeast.
Really?
Yes.
You got a lot of local connections in Northeast Guilford back in the day.
And I am actually helping coach the middle school team this year.
At Northeast?
At Northeast Middle School.
Wow, so that's good stuff, because is it Coach Weaver, the new head coach?
At the middle school?
Yeah.
No, Coach Ben Porter.
Porter, I know it was Porter, Weaver, something like that, yeah.
Coach Ben Porter, Coach Clark, Coach Collins, and then Coach Lippard,
Yeah,
Coach Suggs, and Coach Avolio have been great to us.
We had those guys up here when I did a very good job. Coach Avolio was here, Coach Lippard was here, Coach Suggs was here, all those guys, yeah.
Of course, I marked Page off where I will not do one of their games while my son is enrolled in school there, and I've marked off Northeast for that very reason. But I thank the world of Coach Lippard. He's Coach Suggs, Coach Avolio, the rest of his staff. In fact, he's got a guy on his staff, I cannot think of his name, that played in the 2007 state championship at Newbern. And Coach Curlings is the head coach there. That was his first year. They beat Independence, and that was the first state championship game that I had.
Wow.
So Coach Curling and I have a lot in common.
You know, just kind of keep it up a little bit around the state type stuff. Newbern has really come on to their football program the past several years.
Absolutely. Yeah. They surely have.
Wow. So you were a Northeast man, you say, back in the day? In high
Yeah,
school?
back in the day.
Who was your coach way back then?
Coach Randy Sides.
Wow, that's interesting. That's a lot of interesting connections. Now, Coach Sides, where was he at, like in order when Coach Persley was there? Before Coach Persley, I think Dan Barrow did it for a while before. Coach Barnes, when he was there for a while, Coach Barnes, and before him, you got to take me back.
Well, I graduated in 1978.
Wow.
And I do not remember when.
You know, I may have played against these. I graduated in '76, and I went to Western Guilford. So I remember playing against Northeast back when they had Ricky Apple. He was like the big defensive tackle.
Yeah, played at Elon.
Yeah, played Elon. I was playing against Ricky one Friday night. I was on the right side of the offensive line. Ricky was over on the, I guess, be the left side of the defensive line. And I had never heard a man. He got mad that night. Or he called me some names I'd never heard of before that night. It's kind of interesting.
Great individual.
Big
Owns
man.
A&A plants up on 150.
Yeah, good
I have to give those guys a plug.
Yeah, absolutely.
And the quarterback that night was most likely Rusty Lee.
Could have been, yeah.
AD at Page.
Yeah, I remember my cousin. He was like a receiver on that team, and I guess it was Bobby Coltrane. Remember Mr. Coltrane?
Oh, I know Bobby very well.
Yeah,
Yes, sir.
Yeah.
Was your quarterback at one time, maybe after you left, the guy that I went to elementary school with, Aaron Stewart?
Yeah, I remember Aaron pretty well.
Yes.
I talked to Coach Slate, and I talked to Coach Slate. You remember him from Southeast?
Yes, sir.
Talked to him usually, sometimes 2 or 3 times a week. He's like one of my contacts in the football days. The past we were talking about Aaron Stewart. There was a kid on that team named Mark Bryant. If you remember, not Mark Bryant, played at Western, went to East Carolina. Glenn Morris, I'm sure you remember
Oh,
Glenn.
yes. Oh, absolutely.
You had no problem with
Absolutely.
Glenn, yeah. But a lot of good kids back on those teams. Yeah, you were right. And I remember back when I was like middle school, Northeast had the coach of Mr. Bookout, the stadium's name
Bill
for him.
Bookout.
He coached that Northeast middle school team.
Big wrestler.
Love those games because it was funny. I was in the game playing for the Guilford Middle, and the coach Bookout of the opposing team used to be talking to me during the game. He was saying good things, but
Right.
it's kind of funny carrying a conversation with the opposing coach during the game. I mean, I remember times I was playing. I'd be talking to the officials during the game. I mean, they strike up a conversation.
Right.
We carry on some talk.
Coach Bookout, and there was another coach there that made an impression in my life, was Coach Bobby Chappell.
Right. He was a baseball guy too,
Sure
right?
was, but
yeah,
he helped
big
coach
time.
football.
Yeah.
Those two gentlemen are awesome men. They
That's
really
good
are.
stuff. I still remember I asked you this question a little bit too. We always call this, if you could turn back time, go back to time in your athletic career, a major play, major game, major event, redo it. I remember at Northeast, I think it was when I was in middle school, would have been junior high back then. That's back in the
That's
days.
true, yeah.
Middle school didn't even exist. But I remember we had a game against Northeast at Northeast, and I knocked this guy out of bounds on the far sideline of that game. I know I knocked him out of bounds, but it gave the guy the touchdown. I said, man, if we would have won that game. And Northeast was a pretty good up-and-coming football
Right.
program at that time. Our middle school team had just begun. We had some success, but anyway, I'm thinking, gosh, I know that guy went out of bounds that far left side on the visitor's side, but it's always interesting, the games and people you remember. And you being at Northeast, that's another major component there too.
And that far back, Joe Jones was probably still the referee then.
Hey, I got his name on this sheet right here. I was at the middle school game yesterday. I was at the Coronado Kaiser game. I was going to ask you about Joe Jones. That guy goes a long way back, and here's what I like about Joe Jones. And sometimes little things I remember are kind of trivial, whatever. But Joe, let's go. Come on, man, let's go. It's always let's go. He's ready to go.
My understanding, Joe is 77.
Right now, yeah.
And I hope that the good Lord allows me the ability to still be on the football field or doing something with football when I'm that age. Mm-hmm. He is an awesome individual.
He's a treasure. I tried to get him to come up here a couple of times. I have to keep reminding him because I see him at he always goes, I love Shane's tradition. He likes to go by the McDonald's because Shane's is already closed by then after the games.
Right.
He likes to sit by the McDonald's and get a coffee. He always gets about the same thing, I think, because they all know him pretty well there.
Oh, I'm sure.
But he'll pop in after the game and grab something that helps. I usually try to give him a business card occasionally and have a word with Mr. Jones to see if maybe get him up here one day, but just got to wait and see because he probably referees JV games too, doesn't he?
Yes, sir. Middle school. In fact, the first middle school game that we had at Northeast Middle, he was the referee.
First game you had when you were there back in the day.
Oh, probably was then too. Yes.
Yeah, wow.
But
gosh, does he do any varsity games still?
Oh, yes, sir.
He does
Absolutely.
varsity, too.
Absolutely.
Wow. He's the kind of guy, I was thinking about that today, kind of the thought you have about this guy. He's the kind of guy to me, it doesn't matter how old the kid is, if a kid was, gosh, he's probably, a kid maybe 50 or 60 now remembers this guy, or if a kid's, even today's group of kids on the field, there's no way they're not going to respect that guy. He demands it.
Oh, absolutely.
He walks in the field, he takes over the game, and he's not going to give any kid any time for any junk. That kid wants, if you want to go out and try something and think you can get by with it, I encourage you to try it with him. You're not going to get it
My
done.
understanding is He's an excellent football official.
Yeah.
But he is an even better wrestling
Yeah, he was a great wrestler. I got a guy sent me a photograph a couple of years back, emailed it to me when he was reffing wrestling back in the day when I was in school. Even yeah, he was excellent. But you know, like about him, he's got that military approach and everything's straight. Always says, "Let's go." If this guy, anybody likes to keep the game moving along. We don't want to stand around and kill time. Let's get this. He always, especially right when you get ready for the kickoff.
Right.
Let's go. Let's go. Let's go. I can see the guys that's going on right now
By
every
the
time.
book.
Yep. And he's got those socks pulled up kind of high. You think this guy looks like he's probably, you said 77, maybe he looks like he's probably about in his 40s.
Yeah.
By his approach.
Oh, he's a built little gentleman.
He's a treasure. That guy is. The kids never had a chance to work with him, and I'd written down his name on this sheet, wrote down some names like guys like Wayne Butler you probably worked with over the years.
Oh, Mr. Wayne, great individual. Yes, sir, Ray.
I don't know if you ever worked with IC Apple or not. If you worked with him, you were working games. You guys are probably on the game between UMass and probably the English squadron team back on the Mayflower, back in Mr. Apple's day.
Do you want to know a story about Mr. Apple that is
If you've got
infamous?
one, we've got it. Go right ahead. Yes, sir.
My understanding is that years ago, in his later stage of officiating, that if one of the other officials threw a flag, then he would mirror that flag. And they would all come in and say, okay, what have you got? Well, I've got holding on 63. What have you got, Mr. Apple? Well, I've got the same thing. So supposedly, during the game, the officials got together and said, okay, here's what we're going to do. We're going to throw a flag, and it's not going to be anything. So supposedly during one of the plays, the referee threw a flag and came in, and Mr. Apple threw a flag also, and they came in and said, Mr. Apple, what have you got? Well, what have you got? He said, well, my flag just fell out of my pocket. Well, mine did too. So I don't know if that's true, but that's a story that I have heard for years and years.
He was a diplomat too, the way he did
Right.
things.
That's my understanding. Yes, sir.
He was quite a character. I wrote down Mr. Holmes' name too. Calling against Mr. Holmes, Reed Holmes' dad.
I don't know that name.
Yeah, Michael Holmes, Reed Holmes, two guys. Michael Reed's the coach of Southwest Cup for baseball. Jim Holmes, there you go, Jim.
Oh, Jim. Oh,
Coach
yes.
Jim does. I think he does some college ball. Does quite a bit. He was doing a high school game over at Simeon a couple of years ago, and I think the official hit the field, maybe died that night.
Oh, yes, there was official did that.
Yeah,
Yes,
yeah.
sure did.
Mr. Holmes is another guy who's really give him credit. He's hung in there too.
Did you ever have the opportunity to meet an individual by the name of Cart Howerton?
If I say yes, does that mean he will show up here? I like Mr. He's a good man. He was a character. I talked to Bill Slate, Coach Slate, and he talks about Cart Howard. Cart Howard to me, he's another guy. You talk about people you run into over the years. Remember Crash Davis? Remember the old baseball
yes,
player?
sir.
Over the days when I met Crash. Crash was one of those guys you never forget, just elite individual. But Howerton the same way. Cart Howard shows up, man. He'd show up those games. He would come in. He was the guy who actually officiated the officials. He would show up at the game that night, got his little book stuff, ready to go to work. But yeah,
Well, sadly to say, Cart will be buried on Saturday
really.
at 4 o'clock. Cart died a week ago Friday, and what a loss. I can remember one of the first games I ever had, Cart scouted me, and we were at Graham High School. No, maybe it was Burlington Williams, wherever the school was. Cart can talk.
Oh, I was going to say, if you could, that's what I was alluding to earlier. That man was a talking son of a gun. I mean, I love to hear him, but man, Cart he would give it to you. He was good. He was good at that. Yes, sir. Yes,
We
sir.
came in, and it was at the beginning of the year, in August, 1st September, it's hot. We were sweaty. So we came in, and Cart started giving everybody his opinion of how the game went and, good calls. So I started taking my clothes off, and we got our towels. We walked in the shower. Here comes Cart. We stand there taking our showers. Cart stands there talking to us. We come back out, dry off. Cart still talking to us. But after it was over with, Cart, and then it's hard for me to say this, but Cart came over to me and put his arm around me. He said, Mr. Ivey, he said, I see something good in you. He said, I want to be your mentor. And he and his wife became good friends with our family, and he helped me get to the position that I am.
You can't beat it, man.
No,
Yeah.
sir. Cart Howerton was a great individual.
I love that guy. He's just a unique individual. Like I said, he'd come to those games. He would be there to officiate the officials, check the officials
Right.
out. He was in charge, and he never met a stranger. That guy was on the ball, man, on the ball.
He had a World Series ring for the Boston Red Sox, where he had been I don't know if he was a recruiter, what his position was with that. But Cart is the individual that said, okay, this rule is on page 33, line 4, section 8. He knew the rule book.
Exactly. Yeah.
Like most ministers know the Bible.
Every detail.
Absolutely.
And I didn't know he
Absolutely.
passed away. That's interesting.
He did, sure did. It was a big loss. We've had a lot of officials, and it's just sad. One of our back judges, Mike Oliver, who had retired from the
Saw his
Rocky-
name in the paper today. That guy was like a wrestling referee too. I thought
Yes,
it was
sir.
interesting. Yeah. He was an Ashboro guy.
Well, he was born in Asheville.
Yeah, exactly.
But
Yeah.
lived up. He taught at Reedsville Middle School.
Yeah.
Mike was hunting last Monday or Tuesday and fell out of a tree stand and died.
I didn't know how he
Great
passed
individual.
away. Wow.
Oh, another loss for us.
I'll tell you, when Mr. Jones, as you mentioned earlier, Joe Jones, he finally succumbs whenever the time changes. That's going to be one guy. Card Howerton's another one, too. I'm sure something we named in his honor someday. But a guy like Joe Jones, almost like, I mean, he's unassuming when he comes in. He just takes control, takes care of business.
He does. He doesn't put up with any junk, as well as it should be. But he is a no-nonsense individual. He's a
See,
great
a guy
guy.
like, I don't know if you're referring to this guy, that's kind of digging in deep, bringing these guys' names up, but this guy always thought it was kind of nice guy to be around officiating. This guy was a big operator in town. He ran the airport, Ted Johnson at Jamestown. I don't know if you're a ref with Ted or not. He reffed high school ball for years. Came out of Jamestown. He was actually the chairman of ran the whole airport at one time. Ted
Okay,
Johnson.
I do know.
He was a Duke man back in the day. Came through Duke and just owned tons of property in Jamestown. Used to officiate games. He was a big high school referee. I don't know
I
if he
think
did.
he's a green coder.
He could be.
Well,
Yeah.
we're not green coders anymore. We're Triad Foundation. Yeah.
Yeah, Ted was a great referee. I always like those referees, even when I was younger playing ball, if the referee would, this guy's, I thought this kind of man should get some free advice from the referee. That's not bad. If the referee tells you you're doing something, you need to do something different, you pretty much, yes, you trust
Right.
that guy. Yeah, even as much as your coach.
Right, exactly. Yes, sir. You're correct.
A lot of good days on that football field.
Yes, sir. Yes, sir. I look forward to football season every August, and then when Arena comes around, and then Shrine Bowl's in December, and love it.
If you could turn back the time, is there like a game from recent years, even in the old days, that you could go back and maybe play again or ref again? Is there a certain game you look back when it really stands out a lot among all the ones you've been around all the years?
Oh, if I could turn back time, I think that I would have tried to be a better football player. I was not the best. I started. We had a great team at Northeast 1978.
Think I remember about Northeast, you guys got robbed when they took all those guys to Eastern Guilford. You guys, man.
Yeah, and I was part of that because my family was on the north side of Buffalo, but yet I went to church at Mount Pleasant United Methodist, and a lot of those guys there were from Eastern Guilford. And but I saw on your website, and have seen quite a bit, one of your advertisers, Joel Oakley.
Sure, the attorney for Northeast, yeah.
Joel Oakley was one heck of a football player. He played at Northeast.
Yeah, and he became a rugby player later. He was a digger at that, too.
Then nothing surprised me about
Yeah, that
Joel.
guy's
Joel
tough as
he is an awesome individual. I just have always thought the world of Joel Oakley.
Overachiever, I'd have to say, wouldn't you?
He's something.
Overachiever.
Yes, sir. Absolutely.
Yeah. You ever know Woody Reese?
Oh, absolutely. Yes,
What
sir.
you might know, since you mentioned that Mount Union Church, where that church, and going down to Eastern Guilford way toward the high school, Woody
Yes.
Reese, big.
Owned Reese Oxygen.
What I'm thinking of, he may have. He also was with Black Cadillac Oils.
Oh, yes. Yeah. He still sells cars up
Exactly,
there.
that's him, yeah.
Still does,
Right.
exactly.
Yeah,
Oh,
yeah.
yeah, he just, my buddy Chuck Deal just bought a big old Chevrolet truck from him.
A lot of good connections there.
Oh, yes, sir, Ray.
What's your plan of attack for about the next few weeks? I know you're going to be officiating high school football. You got a game coming up with a team here locally in the next day or so. Plus, you got a lot of other events on the plate too. What's the next few weeks look like for you? College probably. You can't tell us about the college game yet, but what all's on your plate right now?
I've got the rest of this month, October's full with college games. I've got the next 2 weeks booked for high school. Our middle school team plays on Tuesday. We'll be playing Southeast, I believe this.
Coach Porter, right? Got to keep that name in mind.
Ben
Coach Porter.
Oh, great individual.
So you guys got a win a couple weeks ago too. Was good.
We're 2-0.
Not bad.
That is
And the JV
most,
team started 2-0 too. I think they're now maybe not 2-1, but I think they started 2-0.
I think the JV team is doing awesome.
Yeah.
Our 2-0 middle school record right now is the most wins that have been compiled at Northeast in the last 3 years. So we have some great players, and a lot of these guys are 8th graders, and they will be moving up to Coach Lippard's JV team next year. And I know Lippard is 0-5 I believe that's correct.
Yeah, it is.
I see good things happening there. That man has a good sense. I like him a lot.
He's
I really
putting
do.
points on the board too. They were losing the past couple of years, but they weren't scoring. If you're scoring but still losing, the fans, I think, take this losing a little bit more. They can handle
Right.
it if you put up some offense. I want to see a team generate some offense, then you build the defense. I guess sometimes you don't like to go that way. Most coaches like to go, I'm going to build my defense first.
Right.
If you got the offense, go that direction and come back, get the defense straightened out.
Well, and you got to look at the conference. I mean, they were in the game with Ragsdale. I think it went to overtime.
There's about 3 games they could have won.
Right. The Eastern game, I think, was pretty close. But look who they're with. They're with Eastern Alamance.
Should have had Rockingham County beat. Yeah.
Oh, I had the Rockingham County Reidsville game, and that may have been one of the best games I've had a little bit. Went into overtime. But, you know, they're with Northern Guilford, Eastern Alamance,
Yeah, if you got to play
Western
that, if you
Alamance.
got to play that stretch of Eastern Alamance, Northern Guilford, Western Alamance, I mean, you may as well go ahead and say, I better make sure I've got some arrangements made. That's going to be tough.
I had Western Alamance last Friday night. They're loaded. They're loaded. And John Kirby has a good team year in
John
and
Kirby
year
is
too.
200 and 102. I saw somewhere this past week. 200 and 102 and still rolling. That's a great record.
He's playing tonight.
Yeah.
I forgot who they're playing, but he is getting his green coat because he's the head coach of the Shrine Bowl this year. He has turned out some great athletes. He has a great coaching staff.
Yeah, his namesake, too, your namesake, rather pretty good that came out of that. The kid that went to
Mr.
East
Ivey?
Carolina, Mr. Ivey, yeah, Lamar Ivey, did pretty well down there.
Funny story. As you know, Mr. Lamar is black. I'm white. And I was standing over the ball one day and one night at the football game, and he came up, and I said, they keep calling your name. Is your last name Ivey? He said, yes. I said, I may be your brother and you not know it. So since that time, when he played in the Shrine Bowl, we've been buddies.
Buddies, yeah.
Yeah, he's a great kid.
And he played a lot of offense for Eastern Alamance. I think he became a defensive back at East Carolina, had a lot of
Right.
success there.
Right.
Yeah, a lot of success.
Yeah.
Is there anything in your officiating or your sports career you still like to do maybe in the next few years you haven't done yet? Anything special you'd like to accomplish or do or be a part of maybe?
I would like to officiate the Shrine Bowl one day, but with my role as an administrator of the ball game, I just cannot be down there all week with the coaches, help pick the coaches, be with the players, and do that. So I make sure that my name is taken out. Maybe one day do the East-West game. I haven't done that yet. But besides that, I've done my state championship. I may get another one of those one day. I've had college playoff, got to officiate the NFL.
Officiate the NFL?
Yeah, 2001, when the officials went on strike the first time.
You jumped in. Wow.
Yep.
Wow. How many games?
We did 3.
Wow. You did an NFL game then?
Yes, sir. The first regular season game I had Baltimore and Chicago in Baltimore. Flew home Monday night, 9/11 happened on Tuesday. And that stopped everything. The next Sunday, our crew was to have the Carolina Panthers and the Buffalo Bills. And one of the coaches from Burlington Williams had a son that had played at Carolina and was a linebacker at Buffalo. And I cannot remember, that coach died about 4 or 5 years ago. I cannot remember his name, but I was looking forward to that. Had tickets for my family, we were all going, but I was sitting in my house in the office with my CPA and watched 9/11.
Yeah, I know the
unfold.
coach you're talking about because had a son played at Carolina. I know the son, they played at Elon. They were big.
Sure did, yes,
Yeah,
sir.
big kids, yeah,
Great
yeah.
kids, yes, sir.
So you said again the goal maybe to officiate referee the Shrine Bowl game.
I think I get more satisfaction out of doing it from the administrative end. I would like to do that because on Friday night, there's probably 1, 2, unless it's a Dudley Page or a Northern. I mean, there's a lot of schools around. There's maybe 1, 2 kids that are going on to Division I. That Shrine Bowl game, the world's oldest high school all-star game.
Yeah.
Just about every one of those kids are going D1.
Yeah.
So I mean, it's a step up. It really is.
Do we have any local coaches in the Shrine Bowl game coaching this year?
Yes, Shane Handy from down at Randleman.
Okay.
Great individual. Coach Holcomb over at North Davidson. As I said before, John Kirby down at Eastern Alamance. Coach at Mount Airy. His name escapes me right now.
I know one coach you're trying to get there before it's all said and done. You'd like to have a little input, maybe get Coach Norwood involved in that sometime.
Tommy Norwood's name is in the hat. And what a great guy. And I think if we were to name him, we'd have to name his son as an assistant.
He's a great kid.
I have been doing football long enough that I can remember when he was a part of Mama.
Yeah.
He was when she was
She
pregnant.
was on the sidelines,
yes,
brother,
sir,
too.
down
She's probably
southeast.
carrying. Yeah.
Yeah, and she's active too, and
Right on the
everything.
sideline, every game,
yes,
got a clipboard.
Sir, absolutely.
Yeah, it's a great family.
Oh, it is awesome individual. I love
I
him
know.
to death.
I got to let you get going because you got a game at 7 over at Page.
Yes,
We're going
sir.
to have you back again. If you could stop by again, maybe sometime later this season, just talk some more. Great topics, great stories, great information.
Well, it's an honor to have been here.
Yeah.
An honor to have been asked, and please just give me a buzz. I'll be glad to do it.
Love to get you back in here.
All right, take care.
Continued success.
Thank you, my friend.
And thanks for
As
mentioning
will
Mr.
you.
Howerton, too.
Yes, sir. Take care.
Yes, sir. Lindley Ivey with us. And we've got Northwest Girlfriend in the house, too. I think Mr. Hennigan will probably jump in here first for us. Thomas Hennigan will probably be our first man up.